As the summer sizzle fades, it's time to establish a wellness routine that's here to stay. Ritual is shaking up the supplement industry with their focus on traceable science and high-quality ingredients. They've got every base covered, from their clinically backed women's 18-plus multivitamin to their stress relief and sleep melatonin, both using first-of-its-kind BioSeries technology designed to optimize formula delivery. For a limited time, get up to 40% off your first month at ritual.com/podcast.
It's Easter Monday, 1992, April 20th. Perhaps you're locked on American Top 40 radio and you're listening to Criss Cross perform the number one song in the nation, Jump. Or maybe you're across the pond, one of 75,000 people enjoying the Freddie Mercury tribute concert performed by such multi-platinum heavyweights as Metallica, Elton John, Guns N' Roses, George Michael, U2, and Def Leppard, and of course, members of Queen. Maybe you're in a record shop, waiting, because you've had your ear to the ground, and you know that there's an album dropping today by a band that has tantalized you with their EPs, mesmerized you with their album artwork, and blown you away with a cacophony of sonic notes from underground. But perhaps the best case scenario is maybe you've never heard of this band. Maybe on April 20th, 1992, 9,922 days ago, you experienced something brand new. You experienced something that you'll never get to experience again. Scrawled on the vivid red cover in white electricity is the name Pavement and the words Slanted and Enchanted. Welcome to Meeting Malcolmus, a Pavement podcast. Hey, it's JD. Welcome back. We're raring to go here as I take the cellophane off the wrapper of this LP and we dive into Slanted and Enchanted. I am fucking pumped. I didn't think when I started this project that I would make it this far. I can't lie to you. But here we are. And the love that I am getting from you every week is staggering. We've got a pretty big vocal fan base in the UK. A large, sizable portion of the audience comes from the USA. Need my native Canada to represent a little bit and get them out to play as well. This is, of course, Meeting Malcolmus, a podcast which has two folds. One is to chronologically dive into the works of Pavement week over week, and fold number two is to somehow try and meet the elusive Stephen Malcolmus. So far in this journey, I've got to talk to Bob Nastanovich. I've got to talk to Spiral Stairs. I've interviewed Spiral. I've talked to a poet. I have been tweeted by Stephen Malcolmus, and I've received countless emails and actual posts from you all out there. That tells me that there is an appetite for Pavement. And next year's reunion, and I'm calling it a reunion, it can't just be those two dates. There's got to be more under the hat somewhere for our favorite fivesome. So before we dig into anything this week, I'm going to send you to an interview I got to do with a listener. His name is Bobby Wheaton, and we got together to talk about album artwork. And I think the product of that conversation is relatively interesting. So give it a listen, and we'll be back and talk about some other stuff. Okay, so we are now dipping our toes into long play territory, which means that the band has a greater canvas, to create their music, but also literally a greater canvas upon which they can create album artwork. A listener reached out a couple weeks ago and said, wouldn't it be great if at the beginning of each new record, we got together and talked about the artwork? So we're going to give him a call right now and see how this all works out.
Hey, is this JD?
This is JD. Hey, Bobby, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm excellent. The sun's shining and we're talking about Pavement. So that's
right.
That's a good thing. I set it up off the top that I let people know that you came up with this idea, and I thought it was a great one. But before we really get into the artwork, let's talk a little bit about your history with Pavement. Where does it start?
Sure. Crooked Rain was my entry to Pavement, and at that point in time, they were new to me, and I had not heard any of the EPs or anything preceding that. So that was the starting point, and so obviously that one, and because it was more popular, I guess, in the moment, that's probably why it came across my ears. And then probably 95, I'm a freshman in college at that point, and a long-haired sort of hippie friend of mine, a new friend of mine, would drive me around in his car, and he had Slanted in his car, I would assume on CD at that point. That was pretty far along. But anyway, he would smoke cigarettes and drive his beat up old car and play Slanted, and that was kind of his game. And I remember it. I think a lot of people associate music with good friends or friends in passing and that sort of thing. So that was kind of where that was my first taste. It was freshman year in college, which is an awesome time to run across something like that.
Oh my God. Absolutely. It just stays with you. It just hangs there. And you're right. There's the association with the time and place so much. So did you continue on with them? Like when Wowie came out, did you get that at the time, or did you just sort of let it slip away and it just has been always around?
It was kind of funny. Like I was saying, the Crooked Rain album jumped out at me and was popular among friends in high school. And then I kind of forgot about it. It was kind of like a blip in time. And then again, it came to me with Slanted in 95. And then I don't think I ever heard Wowie until probably 2001 or something like that. It was just a really strange experience on my end. And I kind of grew more and more in love with the band as time went on. I heard, and then I bought the first album that I bought was Terror Twilight, which is, that's the end,
Yeah.
so to speak. So I had a really weird history. It was kind of piecemeal over decades, or at least one decade. But, I grew stronger and stronger in that connection. And I've been, I'll go see the Jicks every time I get a chance now, because I kind of feel like I'm making up for lost time, and I'm getting as much as I can. So that's kind of the long and short of it.
So what did you study when you were in college?
So I was an art history major, and along with studio art major. Along with studio art comes, a pretty heavy dosage of art history, along with that. So that was my career. And then I kind of ended up into the graphic design vein. after
Gotcha.
college. But
Yeah.
always been, yeah, you have to make money too.
Well, there's that.
Being an artist is very fun, and
Yeah.
it's a great thing. But monetizing it is a different matter sometimes.
Hey, you're talking to a podcaster here, so I get it.
Exactly.
So let's talk about this. 1992, this record shows up in record stores. It's called Slanted and Enchanted. It's a vivid red, but there's a lot going on.
Sure. Well, I think you can read it as a passerby, is one way to read it, as if you had never heard of this band before. Maybe you stumbled upon it in a record store, and your first impression might be a little frightening. Maybe it's intimidating. Like you said, there's a bright red backdrop there, and when I think of, it's red and black and white basically. When I think of those colors, I think of like a Ferrari or something like that. Like it's an intent, like whatever's contained within is not is not soft rock. This is going to be something that's going to throw you back. And from a passerby standpoint, it, like I said, it looks a little intimidating, a little obscure, maybe kind of outsider-ish. Like there was an art movement, or I guess classification, called outsider art, which is sort of untrained art, which you would find in my area, the South United States. A lot of times, kind of along, there's parallels with blues, I guess. We had someone picking up a paintbrush or a pencil or whatever and drawing for fun, not knowing the history of art,
Gotcha, yeah.
And then but what I see, from some college education, and which obviously these guys had as well, and even their stint, or Steven's stint, at Whitney Museum in New York City. Obviously, they were worldly guys, and so they had sort of a history of art in their experience to some extent. What I think of when I see this, though, is German expressionism is kind of the vibe that I get.
Wow.
Which was early 20th century, 1910, 1920s, and right after the First World War. And in Germany, there was a lot of anxiety and sort of fear. And so that's kind of the vibe I see here. And in fact, it's kind of interesting. Like in the previous Jix album, I think it was, that Malcolmus refers to Egon Schiele and the Prince of French Fries or something like that. You remember that lyric?
No, I don't.
Oh, you have to look it up. So Egon Schiele is a German expressionist artist from that time period. And that's exactly the first thing I saw when I started thinking of it in terms of art history is that name. And then, so there's a second story, though, to this, which is more dramatic and more interesting, I think, really, in that this album cover exists somewhere, I would hope, in probably either Spiral or Steven's home, or in a vault somewhere. But it's a physical document, and it was actually more, the real history of it may be a little less arty and a little bit more kind of sitting around on the couch goofing off. The album cover is derived from the actual album cover is derived from a 50s kind of dueling piano lounge act.
Yes, keyboard capers. Yeah.
So you can see in there, if you almost need a magnifying glass to see some of this stuff. But there's a F and T behind the and.
Yeah.
When it says slanted and enchanted, there's an F and T, which stands for these guys' names. And then there's a rectangular box that's been scraped out at the bottom left. And then you've got this spiraling, no pun intended, but spiraling kind of keyboard coming around. And I think the honest story, aside from German expressionism, I think the real honest story might be more like two guys or three guys hanging out and go into the Goodwill store or thrift shop in their neighborhood and flipping through the junk pile of $1 albums,
Yes.
and stumbling upon what's that?
That's great. I love that idea.
To me, honestly, this looks like Whiteout. You remember Whiteout?
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like Whiteout. Completely agree. I don't know what's underneath.
It looks like Whiteout.
The Whiteout?
There's that top. The top. The pavement is written twice, and the top pavement has a slightly blue outline on it.
Yeah.
Which looks an awful lot like Bic blue pen.
Yeah, I think you're
so
nailing the tools here.
I don't know. I think Spiral it would be one of those things where he would, I kind of cringe to go through the art history spiel because I think it's much simpler than that. I think it's just a couple of young kids that are screwing around.
Well, it is, isn't that what art is though? Here we are. I mean, the EPs and these records to a certain extent are just people screwing around, and we can look back now and recognize what it is that they created and, the impact that it's had. So, I don't think, the art history piece is any different than that. Like, you're looking at it and you're based on your education, this is sort of where it would be classified, but here's the truth. Here's how it was created. Art is often stumbled upon. It's not, I'm an artist, I'm going to go make art now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I thought about it earlier today too. I think, if you could put yourself in their heads at the moment when they're actually in the studio putting these tracks down, they're not trying to become important.
No. Yeah, agreed.
They're just having fun,
That's right.
and they're trying to maybe they're trying to do something unique. And that's definitely a different ballpark. But I don't think that being arty and important on the cover art was the intention necessarily.
No, but
and
it is.
In fact, I think it could be something where you and I are talking on the phone, and while we're talking, I might have, a fork or a knife in my hand, and I'm scraping out, I've got an album in my lap, and I'm scraping the cover with this fork, scraping off the name that may have been there at one point. Just, as killing time.
What is it called when you repurpose someone else's art and you go sort of piggyback on it? What is that?
I guess it's sort of, there's a term called pastiche, which is maybe not exactly what you're talking about. And I could probably find out what a better term would be. But pastiche is just kind of like overlaying and
Gotcha.
stamping, just kind of decorating things. And that's kind of what I think that's kind of what you got here is a couple of kids with some whiteout and a Bic pen. And so, ironically, this album was like very, very kind of mellow dueling piano, 50s music, for show tunes and film scores. And it's just the perfect contrast to what you're going to actually find when you turn this record on. It's going to be the other direction.
Well, I can tell you that I just got my Slanted record. I just took it to the framing store, and it's being framed as we speak. So I'll be able to share it with everybody when I get it back. We'll see how she looks, but yeah, I think it's art. I think it looks great, and I really want to thank you for sharing some thoughts with me today. And I want to ask you if you'd consider, we talked about this being like a reoccurring kind of segment. Like, will you be back for Crooked Rain?
Absolutely. I'm here.
All right.
I'm not going anywhere. God willing.
So we'll do that then. We'll do Crooked Rain, and we'll do the 5 LPs for sure.
Absolutely. I'd love to.
All right, Bobby. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thanks. It was nice to talk to you, JD.
It's great to talk to you too. Wasn't that great? That was some good stuff there. Thanks so much, Bobby. We'll talk to you again real soon when we, well, not real soon. It'll be a while. I'm also going to take some calls from friends of mine. And if you want to be involved, you can let me know, and we can talk up your favorite song on Slanted so that we can, pad out these segments a little longer to get a little bit more diverse information than just me mumbling into my microphone. Although, for the most part, that's what this is going to be, because here we are, right? You know what I'm saying? So, let's talk about Summer Babe. Parenthetical winter version. If you believe what you read on Wikipedia, you'll note that it says that Slanted was recorded by various members of the band, and it was circulated in 1991 and then recorded later as they added band members. I'm not sure who edits that wiki page, but from what I understand, that is not the case. My understanding is it's Gary, Steve, Spiral, and that's that. Yes, they were touring with Mark and they were touring with Bob at this point, but they did not perform on this record, and they don't perform until Crooked Rain, from what I understand. They were there for the Watery sessions, but they don't perform until Crooked Rain. So take that for what it's worth. We'll get on the horn with Spiral in the weeks to come and see what we can come up with. But that's how I understand it. So Summer Babe, winter version. As I understand, it's the same recording that they recorded. That's on the 91 demo. It's on the 91 EP rather, and it's on the demo that was circulated around. But it's remixed and made to sound, more full than the other version. When we talked about Summer Babe on the EP edition, I noted that, the drum sounds on the winter version are more pronounced. I can't imagine that they went in and re-recorded and mic'd them differently. To me, it sounds the same. It just sounds more full and, equalized and, all that good stuff that happens during mixing. But what of the content of this song? This is, again, an anthem at its very core. And, you build you really build to the Summer Babe outlet, you know, at the end. But prior to that, you've got actual verses and choruses, and there's a structure here that we haven't really seen up until now. It's much more traditional, even though, you know, it's not. I don't know how to say it other than that. I mean, you get the verse, "Ice baby, I saw your girlfriend and she was eating her fingers like they're just another meal. But she waits there in the levee washes, mixing cocktails with a plastic tip cigar." Whoa. And then you get this great guitar work. Some really grinding guitar work. And then reset, you build to the second verse. You get the third verse, which is a little tighter. Some people might say it's a bridge, but I don't think so. You build up to the "Don't Go," and then "Every time I sit around, I find I'm shot." And then you build to that jump up and down, anthemic Summer Babe. But who is this Summer Babe? Who is this person eating their fingers? I reached out and asked you when we recorded the last time, and I didn't hear back from anybody. So I'm interested in your take on who the Summer Babe is, what they're all about, and where we go from here. I love this fucking song. I don't know what else I can say about it. It's tremendous. It's a tour de force. I can't fathom going to the record shop and having, you know, my favorite record store clerk hand me this vinyl and dropping the needle and hearing this for the first time. I can't imagine what that must have been like. I know for me, it was Terror Twilight, then Crooked Rain, then Slanted, and Summer Babe still blew my mind. But I can't imagine the power that would have come out of that turntable, you know, all those years ago. 27 fucking years. This song holds up. This is more than indie rock. This is beyond, you know, one of the best records or cuts of the 90s. This is a song that holds up and stands up and will be talked about 27 years from now. I'm assured of it. By whom? I don't know. My own brain, I suppose. What can I tell you? I'm going to wrap it up this week with a really lovely note that I got from somebody, and I want to just share it with y'all. "Hey JD, I just wanted to send you some transatlantic love from the Orkney Islands off the north of Scotland. I've been meaning to message to say how sorry I was about your mom and let you know that there are folks across the oceans that you've never met who are thinking about you and the great love you clearly had for her. I discovered your brilliant podcast last month and have been catching up listening on the school run with my son Aaron, who loves Pavement too. His first ever gig, kinda, was their Glasgow Barrowlands reunion in 2010 when I was 7 months pregnant. He kicked the whole way through. He would love to hear you read that out loud on your show. Pavement have been my absolute favorite band since I was 16 in 1992. I've seen them quite a few times and might message to tell you about the first gig as it will always be a super special memory. For now, though, good night, and thanks so much for the Pavement joy. Heart emoji. X." That comes from Yvonne Nicole, and I really want to thank her and Aaron for listening. And sorry this episode is so long again, guys. You know, what can I do? I'm way behind on reading letters as well. If I've promised you I'll read it, I will read it. I'll get there, I swear. I just do not want these episodes to touch 30 minutes. And here we are at 29, 23, 24, 25, 26. Oh my God. Let's do this. This is Summer Babe, winter version, on Meeting Malcolmus, a Pavement podcast.
Saw your girlfriend and she's eating her fingers like they're just another meal, but she waits there in the levee while she's mixing cocktails with a plastic cigar. All the shiny robes you wear on the protein delta strip in an abandoned house, but I will wait there. I'll be waiting forever. I'm waiting, 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 waiting. Go! Daily drop off the shiny robe. I've got a lot of things I want to sell, but not here, babe. Talk.
Meeting Malcolmus, a Pavement podcast, is a weekly affair. You can listen, share, rate, and review the show wherever you get your podcasts. For more information about the show, go to www.meetingmalcolmus.com. I tweet and Instagram at Meeting Malcolmus. Steven, are you listening?
As the summer sizzle fades, it's time to establish a wellness routine that's here to stay. Ritual is shaking up the supplement industry with their focus on traceable science and high-quality ingredients. They've got every base covered, from their clinically backed women's 18-plus multivitamin to their stress relief and sleep melatonin, both using first-of-its-kind BioSeries technology designed to optimize formula delivery. For a limited time, get up to 40% off your first month at ritual.com/podcast.
The holidays are just around the corner, so now's the time to shop new deals at Lowe's. Make your home even merrier with up to 75% off select pre-lit artificial Christmas trees, holiday lights, and more. Plus, don't miss our limited-time weekly deal drops on items like appliances, tools, and grills. There's something for everyone on your list. Count on Lowe's to help you save all season long, because Lowe's knows deals. Valid 12/5 through 12/11 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.